Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to everyone joining us today for the very first session of our DigiConnect webinar series. I'm Dinasha Peruma, and I'm thrilled to be your moderator for this milestone event. So, what is DigiConnect? DigiConnect is our brand new initiative created to bring our digital team together in a dynamic space where we share our knowledge, experiences, and insights on a wide range of topics that are crucial to our work and growth. These webinars are designed to foster a culture of continuous learning and collaboration within our team, allowing us to explore new ideas and strategies that can drive our success. Today, we're starting with a topic that's particularly relevant in our industry: why Sri Lanka is the best option for talent. As we continue to expand our global reach, understanding the strengths of different talent markets is key, and Sri Lanka is becoming an increasingly important player on the world stage. So, to guide us through this discussion, I'm excited to introduce our speaker, Peter Ward. So, Peter is the Managing Director of Digital Team, and many of you know him as a visionary leader who has a knack for spotting trends and opportunities ahead of the curve. With a background as a former ASX listed CEO and a trusted advisor, Peter brings a wealth of experience to the table. This being our inaugural session, we are setting the stage to many more exciting and informative webinars to come. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. Peter, the floor is yours.
Fantastic, and thanks, Dinasha, for that amazing intro. It's so good to be here this evening and be able to chat to each and every one of you about a topic that's really near and dear to my heart. But apologies in advance for the deep, croaky voice at the moment. I'm just coming off the back of a flu, but we had so much interest in this event. We wanted to make sure that we delivered this great session for everybody. So what we will look to do is record the session again. That way, if you don't quite understand some of as I've got the deep voice, we'll make sure that we record it again so that you can capture all of the insights that we're going to share tonight. But really what we also want to make sure is we want to keep these sessions interactive. So you'll see that you have a Q&A session there on the menu there. We'd love you to answer any questions as we go through. We'll answer them as we go, but also we'll leave plenty of time at the end of the session also for you to ask any questions about, any of our insights or what we're seeing directly in the market as well. And look, it's fantastic to really be part of this inaugural session with DijiConnect. And look, as Dinasha said at the top of the session, what we really want to do is actually share what's happening from a technology standpoint, give you some insights and some trends and topics. And really the way that we think about technology is the best way to then educate everybody is to rise all of the boats in the harbour at the once. And the best way to do that is simply just by rising the tide. And that's what we're going to do over these series. There are monthly series that we'll continue to share, bringing different insights. We'll probably do some of them remotely, but we're also looking to do some of these face-to-face as well. So you'll have the opportunity to come together to be able to meet fellow peers and be able to then learn and continue to grow as individuals. And as part of our business, it's really important for us to be able to give back. And this is just another way for us to give back. So as Dinasha said at the start, look, I've been in the technology industry now for, coming up to 25 plus years, and it does make me feel old when I start to say 25 plus years. But over that time, I've seen a number of changes and a number of trends. And my background is I'm a technical guy by heart. I started off as a Windows NT4 server administrator. I looked after the Y2K rollout actually for one of the largest supermarket chains in Australia. But then I also moved into being a VB6 developer. So, worked on the early versions of ASP.NET and VB6 as a support engineer. and then moved into being a developer. And look, realized that, data is the heart of everything when it comes to IT. So moved into becoming a database administrator, specializing in SQL Server. So that was back in the dark days of SQL Server 6.5. So, much of my time was spent restoring databases. It wasn't particularly reliable product, not like the rock solid versions of SQL Server that we see today in market, but, in those early days. And what that really taught me is really the need to focus on, building skills, but also the focus on, continuing to start to automate as well. And that has really stood me in good stead for many, many years as part of my career. And now, moving from that sort of humble days of being a DBA, I realised that, data, as we were starting to see some of the early sort of days about data analytics and business intelligence and reporting, that, data was going to be not just something we use for an application, but something that provides rich insights that enables everyone in the organisation to really democratise their access to data and be able to then make, individual decisions, both at a personal BI perspective, but also at an enterprise level as well. So I was lucky enough to be able to then start my own business. So I'm not very creative. So, in Australia, you typically give someone a nickname, you put a Y at the end or you put an O at the end. Wardo didn't sound particularly good, so I went with the Wardy option and created a business called Wardy IT Solutions. And proud to say that that business was recognised globally by Microsoft as a Worldwide Partner of the Year award. And we continue to grow and build that business. And I was lucky enough to be able to sell that business. But through that journey, I really started to discover what talent means and how important talent is in order to be able to create a successful business. Because the reality is I'm never the smartest and I'm never the best looking person in the room. That's really all of the amazing people that I have the opportunity to work with at, various different stages inside of my career. But one of the things as I was growing the business is I started to find that, the depth of talent in Australia was almost finite. It wasn't unlimited. The ability to be able to then compete and be able to then work on the global stage was only as good as the skills and experience of the individuals that I had around me in regards to that. And, that really started to sort of set my journey about, the offshoring and the work that we're doing today with Digital Team. And, that experience, over 15 years ago, has really led me to then, where we are today in Sri Lanka about being able to deliver, amazing services to our customers on a global stage out of, the island of innovation or the island of ingenuity that really is Sri Lanka. So with that background, I am a technical guy at heart. I love, getting deep and dirty in the code and doing all those sorts of things. In fact, I remember in my last role, as Dinasha said, I was actually the CEO of a ASX listed company. And I remember not being able to get access to the data that I wanted to from a reporting perspective. And, I was in the office early one day. And for those that are familiar with SQL Server, you'll know you've got SQL Server Management Studio where you write all of your TSQL queries directly in there. So, what did I do? I just open up Management Studio and start writing select statements to, pull that data directly out. And I remember one of the help desk guys just coming past and saying, it's not often that you see a CEO with Management Studio open, writing queries to be able to get data. But one of the things about that is sharing that information and making that available to everybody. And I think that's one of the key things that we want to do out of these sessions is, be able to then share those insights and share that data and also the experiences that we've got that sort of led us to go and create Digital Team and be able to form that with that. And so in that previous business, one of the most important thing that's ever happened in my life is being exposed to Sri Lanka. So, Sri Lanka is a country that's near and dear to my heart. In fact, it's the first country that my now wife and I travelled to internationally when we first went overseas. I'd had the opportunity to to visit Sri Lanka, 6 months earlier as a single person, and absolutely fell in love with the beautiful country, the amazing food, all of the sites, everything from places like Marissa to Yala to, Sigiriya, all of those places. I just felt so amazing that the first place I called to when I went overseas with my girlfriend at the time and now wife was Sri Lanka. And, it's almost serendipitous that when I became CEO of the last organisation that I was lucky enough to be able to lead a team of 160 individuals on the ground, and really started to get to know what really makes Sri Lanka tick, and the differences that, from a cultural perspective, the differences from an education perspective, and the differences from, that aptitude that exists inside of the country. And, when I finished up in that last role, I was doing some board work and advisory work, working with, a number of startup organisations as well as a number of scale-up organisations. And, that problem of talent was one that came through time and time again in regards to, people just need to be able to have access to amazingly talented individuals in order to be able to meet the needs of a modern technology solution. So, I knew that Sri Lanka provided that, and hence the reason we found a digital team. And our ethos around finding and founding the digital team business was very simple, because we had a belief if we delight all of our team members, that they will naturally delight all of our customers every single day. So our mission as an organization is to unlock potential, and that's really that unlocking potential, and is about not only unlocking the potential of the individual, but unlocking the potential of the customers that they work with, but also the communities that they serve directly in as well. So, as a result, our mission is unlock potential and achieve more. And underpinning that is our vision, and that's to create, better workplaces and better environments for our customers. So create better workplaces by creating the best workplace in Sri Lanka. And we're super proud that, we're just over 12 months old as a business. We officially formed on the 1st of July last year, but we've just been awarded the Great Place to Work in Sri Lanka, recognising, all of those achievements and all of the focus that we've had on creating an amazing workplace environment. But that's something that we'll be proud. I'll be back in Sri Lanka in a couple of weeks to be able to go and pick up that award and be able to celebrate that success directly with our team. But we can't do that, and we can't be successful without what I think is really unique inside of Sri Lanka. And for those that aren't aware, look, I've done a lot of study and a lot of research to really be able to understand, what is it that makes Sri Lanka so unique. And I always think that Sri Lanka is a series of events. It's almost like this petri dish where all of these different events and all of these different ingredients have been thrown in. It's a bit like a great curry. All you need to do is just leave out the cardamom or leave out the cinnamon, and you don't get the same product in the end. And that's what we're seeing inside of the market in Sri Lanka at the moment. Because if you cast your mind back, just over 15 years ago, when Sri Lanka came out of the civil war, the government of the day was actually incredibly progressive. As much as you might have an opinion about the government today and some of the challenges that have happened, 15 years ago they were incredibly progressive. That the government realised that for Sri Lanka to catch up on the economic stage, that continuing to be an agricultural-based GDP that was heavily reliant on agriculture such as tea production, but also then, cotton production and cotton manufacturing, was not going to allow Sri Lanka to accelerate and grow on the global stage. And, I often joke with customers today that, Sri Lanka basically copied New Zealand. So, 20 years ago, New Zealand, so, a country that's very, very close to Australia, it was propped up the same way by an agricultural-based economy. So, Norco milk at that time, it was the primary contributor to the economy. What happened was the government of New Zealand heavily invested in science, technology, engineering, and maths. And as a result, New Zealand now punches well above its weight on the global stage for innovation. whether that's innovations in biotechnology, whether that's in SaaS, whether that's in medical research. So, Sri Lanka is now starting to see the fruits of that same investment of being able to focus on science, technology, engineering, and maths, because that's really the future of any economy, is being able to then produce, talent that's able to then drive the modern needs of, commerce today. So, you know, as we've gone through the different ages, we've gone through sort of those, three distinct ages of economic development. So, the initial economic development was created by, the loom and the mechanization actually of the loom. We then actually had electricity that actually then came through and created, another change from an economic growth perspective. And, we're now seeing the same thing from, an IT perspective, but also moving into, an age of AI as well, where, that economic growth is then, dictated by, it's not how many people you've got on a loom or how many people are actually working in a coal mine. It's actually how many people can actually then go and meet those modern needs. And I think that's where, Sri Lanka is really well positioned. I look at some of the economic indicators, but I also look at the education institutes that exist inside of Sri Lanka. So, SLIT is recognized globally as a leader both in data science, but also computer science directly as well. And one of the things I always find unique is that Sri Lanka is about the same size country as Australia, where I'm based, but Sri Lanka produces 3 times the amount of IT talent per year than what Australia does. You have higher completion rates in regards to all of the university subjects directly as well. But underpinning that is a education system where, English is actually now no longer a second language for the current generation that's come through. So the government has mandated that English is now a native language that's then taught from kindergarten all the way through to then grade 12. And so what that's actually meant is that the literacy rate in Australia is 99%. But what you'll find is that the literacy rate in Sri Lanka is 98.9%, so almost identical to Australia in regards to that education. And I look at, the government in the last budget that was released, and even in that budget, there's 4 new universities that are going to be built over the next 2 years, specifically focused on, building IT talent. And also, underpinning that is a government that thinks about IT talent as an export. So, thinking about that, the ability to be able to produce and create this amazing talent allows us to then, be able to then utilize those services, globally, not only in Australia, but our customers in the US, our customers in the UK, as well as throughout, Asia directly as well. So, creating this education powerhouse, from an IT perspective, but specifically around the modern and contemporary skills as well. So, a good friend of mine, many of you might know him, a gentleman named Brian Keeley. He actually was the country manager for Sri Lanka for a number of years there. And I look at some of the work that was done with Brian and Slashcom, as well as Brian and a number of the universities, to really be able to bring in contemporary IT skills, because it's not just about having IT skills, it's actually about having industry relevant skills. And that's one of the things that sets Sri Lanka apart, is having the access to those contemporary skills. But what's happened is, there's really 3 hyperscalers in the market today. You've got Microsoft with Azure, you've got AWS, and then you've also got GCP. All of the hyperscalers have seen what's going on from a university perspective, and then bringing in those contemporary skills into the curriculum. So, bringing those workplace ready skills and being able to tailor for the curriculum. And one of the great things that Slashcom does is works really closely with industry to understand where technology skills are going, and then be able to then make sure that the university curriculum directly matches with that. I often joke that in Sri Lanka, you'll never see Pascal or Ada taught as a programming language. However, that's the language that's taught in first year university in Australia still. So, making sure that those skills are relevant for what the industry needs at any given time. But I think one of the things is also not just the education that makes Sri Lanka different as well. Is one of the things also is the underlying infrastructure, because it's not longer just good enough to have skills. You also need to have the underlying infrastructure as well. So many of you may not be aware that Sri Lanka actually has the fastest fibre backbone and the most extensive fibre backbone in anywhere in South Asia. So I often look at the speeds that our team get from a fibre connection with SLT. They get a faster fibre connection to their house than what I get to my house in Australia. But it's not just the underlying fibre infrastructure that exists in Sri Lanka as well. It's also the 4G network. So I often joke that I can get a 4G signal anywhere in Sri Lanka, but I can't get a 4G signal everywhere in Australia. So, the investments that have been made in infrastructure to then be able to then go and underpin, the core skills that are then being taught inside of the Sri Lankan universities and education system more broadly. And so there's an organisation called Kearney. So Kearney is recognised globally as one of the leading analysts. You might have heard of, organisations such as Gartner, etc., that do industry analysis. What Kearney does is specialising in rating offshore and outsourcing locations globally. They produce every year what's called the GLSI, so the Global Leader Service Index, and that Global Leader Service Index then analyses a number of contributing factors that go into then identifying, the ability for an organisation or a country to sustain that talent over the long term. And Sri Lanka has been constantly in the top 10 countries globally as a result of the ability to not only refresh the talent, but also then having some of the core underlying infrastructure in order to be able to then, support that longer term. And you look at some of the investments that the government's making and some of the locations in regards to supporting longer term investment in the IT sector, whether that's early stage hubs, whether that's technology parks, etc., that are coming online that'll then continue to grow and can continue to build the opportunity that exists inside of Sri Lanka, specifically around that talent and specifically around the underlying infrastructure as well. But the other thing that, Sri Lanka has that's really in its favour as well is what I call GSD, or the get stuff done, is, that hard-working aptitude. So, what we often find in other places is there's almost a little bit of entitlement and complacency that kicks in from the labour force perspective. But one of the things I think is that Sri Lanka's had a really tough time as a country. Let's face it. Whether that's tsunamis, economic crises that have happened, civil wars, all of these things have created a natural underlying resilience in the DNA of the people. And that DNA and the people is really about actually thinking on your feet. And that's where the innovation comes from, is not relying on other people. So when I look across the sort of the other sort of popular locations, whether that's the Indias or the Philippines or Vietnam, that GSD or aptitude just simply doesn't exist. I often think about those locations as, almost karaoke style. They're really good at following the bouncing ball, but when the music stops, they just simply can't make up the words. They can't, hum a tune. They can't do anything. You never see that in Sri Lanka because people are always prepared to go and do what's right to be able to then, create a great customer experience and customer service as well. And one of the underlying contributing factors to that is not just the resiliency of that's been created by all of the adversity that's the country's faced, but there's also underlying, some fundamental religious pieces as well, with, Buddhism being such a large part of the religious fabric of Sri Lanka as well. So, we know that not everyone is Buddhist, but it has a natural cultural impact on so much of what happens inside of Sri Lanka. And naturally very empathetic, focused on customers wanting to deliver great outcomes and going above and beyond. So you start to go and throw these ingredients together of resilience as well as empathy and customer centricity, and you get an amazing culture that exists directly underneath, the whole country and the whole fabric of what makes, amazing talent inside of Sri Lanka. But then, you can continue to sort of unpack this whole scenario about why Sri Lanka is really a superpower when it comes to then modern, capabilities and be able to deliver what's needed for, modern economies to be able to drive forward from an IT perspective there. So we spoke about obviously sort of the education pieces and what's delivered directly into that. We've spoken about also the contributing factors around what I call the aptitude, because there's a big difference between attitude and aptitude. Aptitude is just something that's naturally part of a fabric. You can't change it. You can change your attitude, but you can't change your aptitude. So the fact that that exists in spades in Sri Lanka is quite unique. But I think the other thing that really sets Sri Lanka apart is, the close ties to Britain as well. So not only from an education perspective, but also from a communication perspective as well. So, Sri Lanka is unique in that the fact that although it's very close to other subcontinent countries, the dialect is very, very different, and that dialect is influenced by a number of components of history. And one of those components of history is the British colonisation and the education system that was left behind by the British, but the natural dialect becoming a very, very neutral dialect and a very easy to understand dialect in comparison to other parts of the subcontinent region. And one of our customers we were recently working with, and he was talking to one of our team members, and he said to me after he gave me a call, and he said, I closed my eyes when I was talking to the individual, and I didn't realize I was talking to someone from Sri Lanka. It was so easy for them to be able to then communicate and be able to then understand what the team member was talking about directly there as well. So once again, directly adding to to all of these different components directly with that there. And there's a great question, and I feel free to ask other questions as we go through. So Therindu has actually asked a question about one of the things in regards to the brain drain that's happened inside of Sri Lanka, and one of the things that we want to do as digital team, and one of the facts that we're really proud of is we've been able to reverse that brain drain. We've actually been able to bring a number of Sri Lankans who left the country and actually brought them back into the country to be able to then be with their family and friends, but also be able to live a great lifestyle. So one of the things that we do to do that is, we spoke briefly about digital team and what we try to do in regards to creating, the best workplace in Sri Lanka. But look, we believe that there's three things that make a truly great place to work. The first of those is salary and remuneration. Let's face it, the reason that we all go to work every single day is to put money in our jeans and to be able to support our family. We realise that. And so we want to make sure that people are paid fairly and people are rewarded for all of the efforts that they put in and recognised accordingly. So, reward and recognition is a core part of our business. And what we want to do is we want to take pay off the table. Being paid well is just assumed. So, one of the things that we do is we pay all of our team in Australian dollars. So by paying our team in Australian dollars, it does a couple of things. Provides a stable currency to actually be paid in, but there's also some other financial benefits of being paid in Australian dollars directly as well. So, we make that process super easy for all of our team members. But over and above just simply being paid a great salary, we also provide ongoing reward and recognition. So when people go above and beyond, providing gift vouchers, providing kudos, making sure that that's, recognised, directly straight away. The other thing is mastery. Like, we all want to have mastery We want to be able to continue to grow and continue to develop our skills and be able to then contribute. So, we know that there's a rock solid foundation and skills, but technology is moving so quickly today. The cadence has never moved faster, especially in a cloud cadence as well. So one of the things that we also do is help create individual professional development and planning, but also career development as well for every single team member, enabling them to not only be able to keep their skills relevant, but also take the time to understand where they're trying to go in their career and being able to then continue to grow and create that tailored pathway. So we've just opened a brand new office. We're about to officially launch our test center inside of the office to make it really easy for people to be able to undertake examinations and continue to grow their skills, and we support and pay for those exams as part of that. But we also know that sometimes you want to go on a choose your own adventure. You might want to experiment and try other things. You might be in project management wanting to move into system engineering, or you might be in data engineering and wanting to move into machine learning. So we also provide an Udemy subscription. So every team member has the opportunity to continue to grow. And that's really that second pillar that sort of underpins is that ongoing mastery that we want to be able to support. And the other third thing that we provide that we know is super important is flexibility. So, although in lots of South Asia and Sri Lanka is the same as the social fabric is that many people live with their parents, so they have that support network around them. But whether you've got a support network around them, you want flexibility. And we believe that work can be done anywhere, whether that's at home, whether that's at a coffee shop, or whether that's at our office at WTC. So one of the things we pride ourselves in is creating that workplace flexibility to enable people to be able to achieve their best work possible. But we also know that not all of our customers actually have that same ethos that we do. So we help try to educate them, but we also then make it super easy for team members that do have to come into the office with providing an Uber account, for example, to then make that transportation super easy in order to be able to then provide that flexibility as much as possible. And it's through those initiatives that we've been able to then actually reverse the brain drain and actually bring people back into the country, but also make sure that people are actually then rewarded accordingly as part of our business there directly there. So great question, Thurindu there, and I'd welcome any other questions that people have as we go through the session about talking about what we're seeing from a talent perspective and what we see that makes Sri Lanka so unique globally when you think about that golden triangle, because I often think that in a lot of other locations, you can pick two of the three attributes that we've spoken about there, but Sri Lanka is the only place that I've seen that you can then, be able to have all three of those. And look, my experience is quite, diverse. I've had the opportunity to work with India, South Africa, Brazil, Vietnam, Philippines, even Fiji as well as a location. So that sort of experience is one of those things that helped us really then see the uniqueness exists in the Sri Lanka labour force, but also the uniqueness that exists in the broader IT talent, and truly why we believe that Sri Lanka is the best place for technology talent globally. But the interesting thing that we're starting to see with our customers is that we focus, and our primary go-to-market strategy is deep technical roles. But what we've also seen is that that same level of education and experience and aptitude exists in all roles. And for me, that was a unique thing to find that out, is that whether somebody's in a finance role or a service delivery role, or a marketing coordinator, or even someone that's actually then just doing an admin role that's a general focus, is that same level of skills and that same level of aptitude exists directly in there. And we spoke about sort of that mastery, and I sometimes say to my customers is that when you look at somebody's profile and they've got an MBA actually there, It's actually a real MBA. And, often there's this sort of view that, people are actually making up credentials or they're getting it out of the box of cornflakes and it's not real. But, that part of that aptitude about wanting to continue to grow and develop is actually very unique inside of Sri Lanka. So, what we often find in Australia is that people will do, their 12 years of, education. They'll then go and do a tertiary degree and then never ever walk into a university ever again. It's almost, they've done their degree, they go into the workforce where the ability for Sri Lankans to then continue to grow and continue to build their skills and continue to remain relevant, but do it off their own back as well in order to be able to then grow and develop, not only their primary degree, but also building out adjacent capability directly as well with that is something that I love in the culture that exists inside of Sri Lanka because we need to continue to grow and develop directly as well there. Yeah, Rufus, yeah, great question. So Rufus has just asked, can I join as a web developer? And look, we would love to have you on board as a web developer, and I would welcome anyone that's on the call today to visit digitalteam.lk to be able to then see all of the open roles there. You also have the opportunity to be able to subscribe to our newsletter to be able to then get updated on a monthly basis with all the roles there. One of the things that we do that's quite unique on the website there as well is there is a live Q&A, so you can chat directly with any of our talent acquisition team members about any of the roles that we've got on offer to see if it's aligned to what you're looking for. But I'd also welcome you to sort of join all of our socials as well. So, on LinkedIn as well as TikTok and Instagram and Facebook to keep updated because, as soon as we have a new role across the business, we publish that out to all of those different channels to keep everybody informed about what's happening at Digital Team. But also, more importantly, is, the new roles that are coming on board. But, these events such as today, we also publish on those platforms and mediums and would welcome the interaction directly from that. So yeah, great question there, Rufus. And once again, if anyone does have any other questions, you can actually ask questions anonymously, I believe, as well. So feel free to ask those. But look, also, if you'd like to talk to me directly, I would welcome the opportunity for you to be able to then, chat directly with me. I have a saying that my phone is always on and my inbox is always open. So, I would welcome anyone to reach out directly. We'll be sending out a follow-up off the back of this webinar for you to be able to then, provide some feedback back, but also get a little bit more information about Digital Team. And look, I'm conscious that I was sort of given a 40-minute window to chat to all of you. And look, this is something that's really near and dear to my heart about Sri Lanka. I actually had lunch with a Sinhalese gentleman. He hadn't been back to Sri Lanka for about 25 years. So when he left the country, and I think he could tell that I was super passionate, and he joked that I should be the Sri Lankan ambassador in Australia for how passionate we are about supporting Sri Lanka, but how passionate we are about all of the amazing things that Sri Lanka has on offer, because we truly believe that growing and building talent, there's no better place from an IT and broader services than anywhere in the world. So yeah, really just wanted to say thank you to everyone for the opportunity today. I look forward to seeing you guys on some of the other DijiConnect sessions that we're going to run, but also some of the in-person DijiConnect sessions that we're going to do on the ground there in Sri Lanka as well. So open the floor to any questions anyone might have. And
Thank you,
apologies
Peter.
again. Sorry, Dinesh, I was just going to say apologies again for my croaky voice. I was able to last all the way through, which is good.
Yeah, so thank you, Peter, for launching our DigiConnect series with such a compelling and insightful presentation. Your deep dive into why Sri Lanka is a prime destination for talent has truly set the tone for what we hope will be a series filled with valuable takeaways. Now we'd like to open the floor for questions. Please type your questions into the chat and I'll be sure to pass them on to Peter for his thoughts. So, Peter, we have a question. With your extensive experience as an entrepreneurial visionary and former ASX listed CEO, what key strategies would you recommend for Sri Lanka to accelerate its growth as the next Silicon Valley of Asia? Specifically, how can the country attract more global tech companies and foster an environment that nurtures innovation and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, look, I think it's really interesting what's going on in the the technology sector globally, and I think the move is more and more away from Silicon Valley as being the hub of technology. Obviously, Silicon Valley has a genesis in regards to the sort of the SaaS and your Facebooks and your Apples of the world directly, but more and more those organizations are they're actually coming out of countries other than simply that belt that exists on the west coast of the US there. So I look at what's happening in New Zealand from an innovation perspective. I think Xero, for example, the accounting platform, used globally, originated directly out of New Zealand. Sin7 as well, from a global logistics perspective. We're now starting to see some of those same, startups becoming successful, on the global stage out of Sri Lanka. So I think, it's a matter of time because the investments have been made in regards to, science, technology, engineering, and maths that actually are key to underpin and support that. And so you look at organisations such as 99X, for example, that's really competing on the global stage in regards to the work that they do. So NG2O as well. So from an identity management perspective, directly as well. So I think one of the things is, a friend of mine, Neil Cross, actually, is actually doing a lot of work in the fintech space as well on the ground there in Sri Lanka because there is a thriving fintech scene directly as well. So, obviously the banking system in Sri Lanka is ripe for disruption. It's obviously, backwards in some of the way that things are done. And so, those fintechs are supportive. But I think, the work that Slashcom's doing definitely needs to be, well recognised and rewarded, for the efforts that they're putting on to actually raise the bar globally and the awareness globally of the talent that exists directly in there. But I'd also encourage you as entrepreneurs yourselves is it's really the individuals with the ideas and being able to bring those to the fore that it then actually does create that entrepreneurial ecosystem in order to be able to do that. So, if you'd love to chat more about that, I would welcome any questions that you may have in regards to that. But I think the platform exists there. It's then being able to then continue to grow and build on that. But you can see that the foundations are directly there.
So we have a couple of questions for you. So the next question is if you open part-time jobs.
Yes, look, our predominant focus is on full-time roles, so creating dedicated teams for our customers. We believe that that's the best way to work is that where an individual then has an opportunity to be part of our team, but then dedicated working with a customer to understand, the specific domains, the technology, the business problems that particular organisation has. That being said, we do occasionally have part-time roles, and so if it is something you're interested, send an email to careers@digitalteam.com, and one of our talent acquisition team will get in contact with you about what that is. But also, keep an eye out on digitalteam.lk to then see all of the current openings that are available directly as well.
Yep, so we have another question for you. What is the biggest challenge in sourcing good quality talent in Sri Lanka? Do we have the numbers in terms of human capital to scale and supply the global demand?
Yeah, so look, that's one of the reasons that we think Sri Lanka is fantastic is because there is that depth of talent. And, Sri Lanka produces three times the amount of IT graduates per year than what Australia does. So as a result, there is that definite depth of talent. Could there be more? 100%, because I think, globally, there's not enough IT talent globally to meet all of the needs that we'll continue to have, especially from an AI perspective, as that continues to actually become key to actually then drive economic development moving forward. But I definitely think the talent exists inside of Sri Lanka. Not only from that, but also it's not only about having the talent, it's having the contemporary skills. And that's where I think, Sri Lanka definitely comes to the fore is the depth of contemporary skills in the marketplace there.
So another question for you, Peter. You have mentioned why Sri Lanka has great potential. In your opinion, what do you think Sri Lanka needs in terms of infrastructure, governance, and compliance to fully realize this potential?
Yeah, look, I think, we could get very political very quickly in regards to that. We've obviously got an election that's occurring, in just under a month's time. And obviously, there'll potentially be some changes that come out, as a result of that when we talk about the governance. But I think one of the key things is that, it already exists in Sri Lanka. We're seeing it with our own eyes, and our customers are seeing it through our eyes directly as well. And we're not the only ones that have recognised the depth of skills that exist inside of Sri Lanka. But like any developing nation, often it's actually industry that actually then drives and moves the economy forward, and the driving of the economy forward is actually what then obviously then forces governance to then come around each of those. So I actually think the continued growth of the economy is really going to be then driven by the IT talent, because the IT talent has the ability to scale and scale well beyond the current economic impacts that tourism has, for example. So, being able to produce, more talent means that that's going to actually bring more foreign dollars. More foreign dollars means more foreign investment. More foreign investment then means all those guardrails then need to be put in place in order to be able to then continue to capitalize on that.
So we have a couple of questions coming your way. So, do you have openings for freshers?
So do we have openings for?
Freshers.
Yeah, so for people actually straight out of university. So, look, at the moment, digital team is focusing on senior roles with people that have actually already got industry experience. We will look at bringing in internships as well as programs to actually then bring talent through directly out of university, as well as also people that have come through alternate pathways, because just whether you've been to university or not doesn't necessarily mean that you've got all the skills and experience. Often people have worked as a freelancer or had other industry experience that's just as relevant as a degree. So, we will be looking at programs into the future about how we then, address that talent and help grow that talent as well.
So the next question is, what are the long-term prospects for IT talent development in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, so I actually think we're only just seeing the tip of the iceberg in regards to the opportunity that exists. So I think, as Digital Team and other organisations like Digital Team continue to grow, what we're trying to do is create something that's pretty exciting. And so we want other people to be part of that. So I think what's going to happen is you'll start to see more and more people that actually want to be part of the IT industry because they see the opportunities that presents to them, financially, as well as all the other growth aspects that come along with that directly as well. So, as more investment comes into Sri Lanka, that's then going to continue to then grow the talent pool naturally.
So another question. I understand that the digital team is actively supporting the youth by sponsoring initiatives like the Microsoft Tech Community to help them learn new technologies. Do you have any plans to enhance your engagement with universities and recruit directly from there?
I would love to. So if there's something that we're not doing that we should be doing, just reach out directly to me. So we've been involved with a number of initiatives across the board, both in the Microsoft community as well as other communities such as Power Platform, the tech community, IT infrastructure, etc. But yeah, look, if there are events or things like that that we can be part of, feel free to send them through. We'll evaluate them and make sure that they align. But one of the things for us is not just supporting youth that's actually the current youth. One of the things we're really proud of is our partnership with SOS Children's Charity as well. So for every team member that joins us in Sri Lanka, we also then sponsor a child that's been displaced from their parents, because we know that that's the future potential talent that's coming through as well. So being able to support the community more broadly, and that comes back to what we're trying to achieve with our mission of being able to unlock potential and achieve more.
So we have another question. It's true regarding the number of university students and fresh graduates. However, there is a huge gap between the industry requirement and what the academia provides. As per your advice, what areas of technology should the youth be focusing on? Are professional certifications with hands on experience the solution for future proof, skilled human capital?
Yeah, so look, my own background is I actually didn't go to university at all in regards to studying IT. For me, it was actually the skills and experience that I built off my own back and the self-study that I did that founded my career. Not everyone's as lucky in order to be able to then, get into the industry without those skills. So I think any industry certification that you can do, especially around the hyperscalers, around GCP, AWS, and Microsoft, will help differentiate you and stand you out amongst the crowd there directly. Look, I think anything data related is going to continue to be hot for a long time, because data is really the nucleus that all applications require. So any of those data skills are definitely something that's a hot property. And look, obviously anything AI related as well as cyber security, being the two really hot topics. I was at a conference last week, IT Nation in Sydney, and almost every second word with either cyber security or AI, and that's a common theme that's across the industry directly at the moment.
So, one last question before we wrap up the session. Peter, do you primarily work with English speaking clients? If so, how does that influence your collaboration with teams that speak other languages?
Yeah, so look, today our customers are English, and that's because that's the only language that I speak. And so I'm not that smart. I can only speak one language. So hence we've gravitated to our customers being in the UK, in the Netherlands, in the US, New Zealand, and Australia directly with that. But we see that there's obviously an opportunity, in whether that's in Spanish or French or many of the other languages around the world that have the same needs for deep IT talent. But I think the one great leveler about technology is, technology is typically based on English language. So, all of the programming and methods and classes and things like that are all, typically English based there. So, that does become a real level settler in regards to communication skills with that. And if we look at where things like Copilot and things like that are going as well, the ability to actually translate on the fly means that we can then deal with many different languages over time.
Yep, so thank you for those great questions. And once again, a huge thank you to Peter for sharing his insights with us today. And to all of you, thank you for being a part of this special kickoff session. Your participation is what makes DigiConnect truly valuable. Also, a quick reminder to reach out to us via careers@digitalteam.com for more information regarding our vacancies and be part of a dynamic team. As this is our very first DigiConnect session, we wanted to make sure it was something special, and I think it's safe to say that we have achieved that. But this is just the beginning. We have a whole lineup of sessions coming your way, each one designed to deepen our understanding, spark innovation, and strengthen our collaboration as a team. As we close this session, I want to leave you with a sense of anticipation. We are just scratching the surface, and the best is yet to come. So stay engaged, stay curious, and get ready for more sessions that will continue to inspire and empower us as a team. So thank you, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you at the next DigiConnect webinar. Good night.